Might be a little thin.
Sorry, they make good sandwiches too. This video of me making the bread was all Kelsey's idea. She wanted it to happen, so I did this for her. So Kelsey, I love you. Good morning. It is still Sunday morning, August the 8th, and Kelsey is wanting Mom to video making some bread and some muffins. So that's pretty much what I'm doing today in between editing videos. So yeah, come along with us for the ride. I need to make a loaf bread, and I have the Zojirushi 2-pound bread machine, so it'll make 2-pound loaves of bread. I love this thing. It takes so much of the work out of it, and it's fast. I just dump the ingredients in there and set it and forget it, and until it goes off and lets me know that it's done. So I have to do that, and I need to make some blueberry muffins for Todd's work, for his breakfast, for the work. Yes, I'm gonna cook some muffins for Dad for work, and they're gonna be blueberries. And then what is Kelsey wanting? Kelsey, please. You wanting the bread? Yes, but she's also wanting some strawberry roll-ups, kind of like cinnamon roll-ups instead of cinnamon, though it's using strawberries. So I'm going to be making that also. But so this is going to be in and out, in and out, in and out. While the video is being created by the editing software, I will be in here doing this. Yeah. First things first is I need this beautiful little machine right here. Whoops, right here is a Nutrimil. Those are cider bottles back there that's been cleaned out, and we're using them for ginger, making some ginger beer, which I have made. Hold on. So this is the ginger beer I made. I have 3 of these. You don't ever fill it up full when you're talking about a fermented drink. So listen, if I can get it loose. So that's got some pretty good bubbles. And it smells really gingery, and it has some spices in it as well. So yeah, I'll be drinking some of that later. Your health is in your gut. Your immune system starts in your gut. So you want to make sure that you give your gut bacteria good food, and fermented products are one of the best things you can do for your gut health. That and complete whole grains that you're going to grind in the Nutrimil. This is the stone ground. Okay, so it has corundum stones in it that grinds the grains into flour. So the first thing I need to do is grind the grains, and I need to grind grains enough for a 2-pound loaf of flour. And the really cool thing about grinding your own grains is if you use a recipe, try to use the recipes that don't use like cup measurements, but use the gram weight measurements, because you get precise. And if you say the recipe I'm going to use has 530 grams of flour, 530 grams of grain is going to be the same 530 grams of flour. The weight is the same. It's not going to change. Whereas if you do a cup or 2 cups of grains equals like 3 cups of flour. So just something to keep in mind. So if your recipe calls for 2 cups of flour, you're going to end up with 2 cups of flour, and you use the 2 cups to get grains, you're going to end up with 3 cups of flour. So keep that in mind when you're making measurements of fresh brown bread. So let me get started. The first thing I do for the bread is I measure out the wet ingredients. I go ahead and put the wet ingredients in the container. And I use a little handy dandy scale that measures in grams, and you can tear it out after each thing. Okay. So now you know what I'm looking down at. That and my recipe. The recipe that I use is actually the honey bread recipe. It's on page 6. That is in the recipe book that you get with my Zojirushi bread machine. Thank you, honey. So I really love the honey bread recipe. You can substitute honey for any kind of liquid sweetener. It really doesn't matter as long as the liquid is the same. Okay. So let's get started with that. I'm going to first measure out my water. I need 320 grams. Let's see. We use a water filter, a Berkey water filter, so I have some bottles of water over here. Okay, that's 323, close enough. Are you mad? Did you do it on purpose or was it an accident? Which one? Okay, then calm down and stop worried about it. Okay. Liquid ingredients first. We have water. Now we need 60 grams of honey, and I need to get in the cabinet behind where I have the camera. So I'm going to tear out my scale, which just means it deletes all the weight that's in there and just uses the weight that's on here as 0. So I'm going to go 60 grams of honey. I kind of like to put that in the center because if you get it along the sides, it's going to end up getting splashed up the side walls. And there we go. And it will get a little crusty on towards the top. So that's one thing I've learned. I had a bread machine when I was younger. It was just a cheap one I got from Walmart back when they first became the Grays. And Mom is talking. Can you wait, please? It was just a cheap one that I got from Walmart, and it made really good bread. It only had one beater in it, and if you notice when I turned this one up to the camera, it has 2. I really like that because it helps it mix it well better. I didn't have any problems with that machine. The only thing I had was what do I call it? The mixer blade actually would come off when you went to dump the bread out. It would come off into the bread, and so you have to dig out a hot thing out of the bread. So that I didn't like, but other than that, the cheap one worked just fine. Like I said, I got the Zojirushi because we go through a lot of bread around here. Usually about 2 loaves a week. We actually went through a whole loaf of bread yesterday. I used einkorn grain for the first time to try it. I'm trying out different grains in the bread machine to see which ones we like better, which ones taste better, which ones have the bitter rise, using the same recipe. So I'm testing it out. Wasn't really fond of the einkorn. The red hard wheat we love, absolutely is 100% perfect. Have not tried out the we tried spelt. It's okay. Still we've tried the soft white. It actually was more like biscuit dough, biscuit texture for the bread. So that was a no-go for the bread machine. And I'm just trying the straight on recipes first just to see how the different grains bake up, because I'm new to baking freshly milled grains, so I don't know. So once I'm familiar with the machine, more familiar with it, I will do a review of the machines, both this and the Nutri-Mill. I love that thing already though. So I will do a review of that and let you know what I think. Okay, this calls for butter. We're vegan, we don't use butter, so well, we can use the vegan butter, but it's not, you don't have have to. It's more expensive than olive oil, believe it or not. So instead of the butter, I'm going to use, it calls for 35 grams, I'm going to use, one fat is the same as another fat. I'm going to use 35 grams of olive oil. Okay. Now, if you want to get your measurements 100% accurate, measure them out in different containers. That way you can pour it back if you need to, if you pour it a little too much. I'm not really worried about it as long as it's generally close to the same. It's fine with me. So we got the water, we got the honey. Next it calls for the salt. However, it tells you to put the salt and the yeast on top of the flour. I don't do that because yeast and salt do not mix well together. So I'm going to put the salt in with the liquids. And I use Himalayan pink salt, and it calls for 10 grams. Bam. Perfect. Now, salt is one thing you really do not want to go over on because, like I said, it does not react well with yeast. They don't play well together. Technically, salt is used to, it will kill the yeast. So if you go too much, you can kill your yeast. And if you go too little, your bread's not going to taste good. I have a whole thing of the uses of salt and how they relate to Matthew 5:13, where Yeshua said that ye are the salt of the earth. So I'll do a video on that soon, hopefully. Let's see. So we've got that. We've got the water, the honey, and yes, we're vegan and we do use honey. If you don't like it, so sorry, not sorry. And we got the salt. We got the butter. The butter is also supposed to go on top. However, I didn't use butter. I used oil, which is a liquid. Put it underneath the bread flour. And so the yeast goes on top. Calls for 6 grams. This is about 6 to 7 grams. Thereabouts, depending. It'll weigh slightly different each time. But it's thereabouts. So 1 packet or roughly 2 teaspoons. So now all I need is the flour. So I'm going to go ahead and dump this, or stick this, into my zojirushi. This thing goes in here really easy. It just snaps in and push it down till it pops. That's all you got to do. And then I'm going to measure out my grains, and I will bring the flour that I've ground over here to that. Now, give me a minute and I'll go measure out my grains. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to measure out my flour. I need 553 grams of flour. It's going to weigh the same as the grains for the bread. And this time I'm using the hard white wheat because I want to see what it does. So, that was too much. And for those of you who are like weirded out that I'm sticking my hand in the grains, my hands are clean, and my husband said that they would eat whatever I cooked, even if I made it with my feet. So there you go. All right, so I'm going to grind this grain up, and if you want to watch, I'll bring you right on over here. It will get a little loud. So first thing you want to do is, I love that it has a cover on this, but the first thing you want to do is turn it on before you put the grains in. Make sure you're adjusted correctly. You don't want that noise as the stones grinding against each other. Back it off a little bit until you no longer hear that sound. and then you dump your grains in. Okay, when all the grain has gone through, you can just turn the machine off. This little brush, I can't speak loud, so I could not speak over that machine. Wait, please. This little brush came with the it came with the Nutrimil stone grinding mill. And this little brush goes up here so you can swish all the little grains inside so they all get ground up. And this one is perfect size to go right up into there and pull out the extra flour. Nobody wants any critters, right? Certainly don't want to attract any critters. And I just keep it right down here in a drawer, and I don't even know why I'm putting it up because I'm not done. So this is what 553 grams of flour looks like. If you remember what the grains looked like, it was much less than that in volume, but weight, it's the same. All right, so I'm gonna dump that right in there. All right, and so we're gonna put the flour over and make sure all the liquid is covered. And the last ingredient is the yeast, which I'll go get here in just a second. I'm going to measure out the yeast so you can see it really is about 6 to 7 grams. So that is close enough. I'm going to turn the scale on. And all right, I've got the yeast packet in my hand. I just opened it up and I'm going to pour it in there. See, 6 to 7 grams, close enough for me. What I do is I just sprinkle it towards the center in a line right there. Make sure you get all the yeast out of the bowl. And you close the lid. Hopefully you've already set your time. So all you have to do, this is program 1. So I make sure I have it on course 1 right here. And crust control is medium. I like that. So it will be done at 2:55, and I'm going to press the start button, and it starts off with a rest because that flour worked really hard. For the muffins, and we need 3 cups. I'm gonna get so that's 2 cups of grain approximately. I might do one with this hard white wheat, since I already have it right here. So Todd's muffins I'm gonna make with the red wheat because I don't want him to be disappointed when he's eating his breakfast at work. So for Kelsey's though, I will make chocolate. Chocolate covers a multitude, y'all. It covers a multitude. It's just like love. It covers a multitude, okay? So I'm going to do 2 cups of this to make approximately 3 cups of flour. Don't have chocolate chips, but I do have some chocolate candy bars. So the chocolate candy bars are like this. I'm just breaking them up into little chunks. Thank you. Technically not much larger than what a chip would be in volume wise. It's just a different shape. I don't have any chips, so breaking up the candy bar. trying to break up the candy bar. Hard stuff right here. Alright. So you need the flour. You need whatever flavor you want. And you need a sweetener. And you need something to make it rise. Can you throw those away, please? Hold on. These two. I don't do yeast muffins. I don't know why anyone would. So I do like a little unsulfured molasses because for some reason the flavor of molasses goes really good with muffins, I think. And since I'm making it, then I get to decide. And I put about a tablespoon in there. And I'm going to use about a 1/4 cup. Y'all, I don't measure things very often, okay? Part of cooking is going by feel, sight, touch, smell. That is the major thing with cooking. So you don't always have to measure. You don't always have to have the perfect measurements. Once you know how to make something, experiment. Go crazy. So I'm adding a little olive oil. Yes, olive oil. Again, about 1/8 cup. You can add more if you want to. We don't do a lot of oil, so 1/8 cup will do. I need to go get some more water. I'm empty. I am also going to put some cocoa in. I really throw those in the trash. I'm also going to put some Hershey's Cocoa Special Dark. I also have some like regular cocoa powder, Double Dutch, things like that I got from King Arthur's. So, and this is going to be about 2 tablespoons because we like our chocolate. And when it's that time of the month, we really want some chocolate, right? All right, you want this to get a little, hey sweetheart, can you come hold this for mommy? All right, can you hold that right there? Here, we can stick it on your shoulder, that's fine. All right, you got it. Stay still. Mommy's gonna mix it. I'm gonna put some water in here. That was about 1 cup. And we're just gonna start stirring it. You want it to be kind of a thick dough. You gonna make it? That's very dramatic right there, kid. Hey, you're doing a good job. Fist bump. Okay, so we need just a little bit more water. That's by sight. Sight. The best cooks cook by sight, by touch, by smell, by taste. Okay. Now I'm going to get a small spoon. You're fine, baby girl. I'm get a small spoon. Can you come back up here? Hey, look at what you're videoing. Come up a little bit further. There you go. And I got a fork. That's okay to work. That's perfect. Just enough sweetness without giving you a toothache. You don't want too much sweetening. So I'm going to cap my water up so I don't turn it over and spill it out. And now we're going to fill some muffins cups. Stay right there, babe. Okay. If you want to, you can record right here, because this is where mommy's going to be working, okay? Let's go right there. I don't know how many of these. I like these little silicone muffin cups because reusable, easy wash. And excuse the camera if it's a little wobbly. Kelsey's being my little camera girl. So let's see how many we can get filled. That's good. Now with Todd's, yeah, she's trying to lean in to smell it. You got it? Let's see if Mommy can fix it right here. Oops. It's all right. Let's not do that. That's nasty. Bam! How's that, Kelsey? If I can get it to stand up on its own, it'll be all right. There. How's that? Can you see? So, I'm going to continue filling the muffin pans. She was getting a little antsy, so instead of getting the camera thrown, we just redirect. Oh crap. Okay, do you know what I forgot? And it's okay, I'm just gonna dump it in there and mix it in. But do you know what I forgot? I forgot the leavening agent. Baking powder. Yeah, it's okay. We need to be patient. It's going to be fun. I'm going to refill those cups. And I could have edited this out. I actually thought about doing it, but this is real life. Sometimes even the best cook or chef will forget an ingredient. But this one is actually very vital, and I didn't want to tell you my recipe parameters or my estimates, guesstimates without the baking powder, because it is necessary. Okay, let me go wash my hands real quick because I got it all over my fingers. Check out my video from about Azure Standard. This is a big tub of baking powder that I got from them, which is why I forgot it, because it's not in my little, I'm used to it being in my cabinet right here where the cocoa is, and so I didn't see it and I didn't grab it. So I'm gonna have to change my methods. Alright, so for the baking powder, we're going to need, for this recipe, I'm going to have to put some more water in it because it's soaked up the water. 1 tablespoon. 1 tablespoon. That's it. And I'm just going to leave the tablespoon on top of the baking powder and the baking powder out because I have to make Todd's later and I don't want to forget putting it in again. Alright, so we're going to need a little more water. It's starting to dry on us, and that's okay. Just a splash will do. So this will be about 1.5 cups of water. Do you see the baking powder sudsing? That's the rising action. I need to get it mixed in. Oh, I also forgot to put a little salt in there. Because even for something sweet, you want a little salt. Sorry. For this one, I'll use a little Celtic sea salt. Honey child, you need to calm down. definitely gonna need more of these. So I'm gonna put these on a different pan because I can fit more in this one. Okay, let's try this again, shall we? Oh yeah? Are you hot? Okay, that's about right. So these are all the little muffin cups I have. So I can only do sorry, I get busy and my brain thinks I've already said what I started to say. I can only do one set of muffins at a time because all I have are these muffins right here. Now we're going to pop this in the oven at 400 for about 18 minutes. And we'll be back when we get around to making Todd's muffins and the strawberry roll-ups. Hey, so I have 2 cups of red hard wheat in this bowl, and I'm going to grind this up. And this is going to be the flour I use to run my sourdough starter with for, I'll get it out eventually, for making the strawberry roll-ups. So I'm not worried about cleaning that out right now because I'm going to have to grind some more flour later. So this is the flour I have from 2 cups of grains, which you just saw a second ago, or a minute or 2 ago. So it doesn't take long to grind your grains, y'all. It's not laborious, it's not intense. It can be if you have a hand-cranked wheel. It can be quite laborious and intense and time-consuming, but this thing makes it super quick and super easy. And this is a really nice quality of flour. You can see that. Could it be ground finer? Yes, but it's okay. You can't, it's not gritty when you cook it. So this right here is my sourdough ferment. You see that blackish liquid on there? That's called hooch. Don't pour that off. That will mess up your hydration. When you make a sourdough starter, all you need is 100 grams of water, 100 grams of flour. Stir it up, cover it, like I have this covered. This is my ginger bug. You can see the ferment going there. So you cover it and you let it sit for a day, and then you add another 100 grams of flour, 100 grams of water, and you keep doing that for about a week. It may not take that long. You take a dollop at the end of the week or so, take a dollop, put it in water. If it like stays together, then it's ready to be used. If it doesn't, it's not ready to keep fermenting. I would take out a tablespoon or 2 of the ferment, put it in a new jar. I used these jars to start it. Put it in a new jar, and then I would add the 100 grams of flour, 100 grams of water, and stir it up really good. Put my cover on there, let it sit. The next day I would use a new jar, 2 tablespoons of this, after it's stirred really good. Cover it, let it sit. And that's how I did it. But I did not discard that. I put it in this container, and after the ferment gets really good, I mean, look at the bubbles in there. Do you see that? That's a really good ferment. And to stir up the hooch, let me see if I can lower you down. I use a wooden spoon because it's longer, and you can store this in the refrigerator. You only have to feed it once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. If you're not using it in the refrigerator, it ferments slower. So you stir your hooch in there. Make sure you get the bottom really good. And look at that. You don't want to stir it a lot because you don't want to develop the gluten, but that's a really good ferment. I'm going to use about 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of this. And I'm going to leave that spoon in there because I'm going to use it because it does need to be fed. I'm just going to use 1/2 cup because that's what I have in my hand. Perfect. So if you panic about me touching the food, you might have to watch somebody else, because a good chef always touches their food. They always taste their food. They do not double dip. Don't double dip. That's gross. Okay, over here, we're going to go ahead and feed this. And can anyone guess how we're going to feed it? We're going to put it on the scale. We're going to tear it out. We're going to grab a tablespoon. And we're going to ladle in 100 grams. It's about 7. Yeah, this one's going to be slightly over 7, about 7.5 tablespoons. Okay, close enough. I'm going to put in, I'm going to tear it back out, and I'm going to put in 100 grams of water. Okay, it doesn't always catch up to me. It's okay. It's a little over, a little under, as long as it's thereabouts. Don't be too anal about things, y'all. Life's too short. And so now I'm going to stir that in really good. Make sure you do not have any, hang on, I'm going to try to situate you so you are looking in without tipping over. That may not be possible. Okay, that's as good as it gets, sorry. I'll tip towards you. So you're going to stir it in really good. You're going to make sure that you do not have any dry clumps of flour. You're going to stir it up really good. Usually I would use a new jar. I would mix it up and then pour it into a clean jar. But all of my jars are taken up with ferment. Always make sure you have some type of cover. You can use this lid to cover. Don't tighten it. Make sure it is loose so that the air bubbles, the gases have the ability to escape. I like the cloth method of covering, but I do use this. And let's see, I have over here. Let me see. Right here I have some sauerkraut going that I use this ferment cap. I love that. Nothing ever molds with that. Orange, peach, and grapefruit back there. These caps are also good. They let the air escape. They don't let mold in or insects or whatever. And you can screw those down tight because this does have a little air escape valve. Same for this one. You can screw this one down tight. Fermenting is not that hard. People make it harder or seem harder than it actually is. And I don't know if that's because they don't want people to do it, or I don't know why they do that. Okay, just like with canning, people try to make it seem harder, more complicated, more difficult than it actually is, more technical. I don't know if they just makes them feel good because they have more knowledge or what have you. I really don't. I'm sure it differs by person, but we've canned my whole life, and I've never known anyone to develop botulism as long as you follow safe practices, which is making sure your jars are clean and sanitized. Make sure your lids are clean and sanitized, and make sure there's no chips or scratches or anything along the jar top, or make sure the jar is not cracked or anything like that. Make sure you're working with good materials. But I have never known anyone to have botulism grow in their food. Never. And I grew up in the country. Everybody canned. Everyone canned. No one's ever gotten food poisoning from it. It just doesn't happen as long as you follow safe canning practices. And what is FDA approved? Yeah, there are things you can do that are not FDA approved as safe canning practices that are still safe, that people have used for generations. So. And I was talking about the green beans the other day. You can cook them off. Because I remember doing that when I was little. We didn't have a pressure canner for, oh my gosh, I think until I was about 12 years old, we did not have a pressure canner. So everything that was canned, pinto beans, green beans, tomatoes, whatever was canned in a huge tub. Mom called it a wash tub, but it was really a cattle feed or cattle water trough tub. It was canned in that over an open flame, and you do have to increase the water bath times for like the green beans. It becomes, instead of the 45 minutes for tomatoes, which is 45 minutes for tomatoes regardless because they are a low acid food. But anything that is no acid, they would cook off for 3 hours on the open fire with a water bath, and nothing ever spoiled. Also, safe canning practices, you can't reuse the lids. These lids were used over and over and over again. As long as there's no rust, as long as there's no damage to the seal, it'll reseal. If it doesn't, you'll know really quickly. Take it off, replace it, redo the water bath. It's really that simple. It's not difficult. So off my soapbox. I need to mix this up. So let me stick this back in the fridge. So now we have our sourdough in here. I'm not putting, okay. I'm going to put about a half a tablespoon of salt. Wow, that was fast. The toaster oven dinged. Oh my goodness, look at that, Kelsey. These are really good for reaching into the oven instead of toothpicks to test. So these are the muffins. They're already done. And I'm going to set them over on the freezer to cool. Bam, just like that. I really need to get in there and get working with my editing. Okay, so we're going to add about a cup of water to start with. We don't want to add too much. These are lifesavers when it comes to dough because it doesn't stick to this really well. And so I'm just going to mix this. Now we want it's going to be a sticky dough regardless. I need much more water. More water. First we want this to be a wet dough because it's going to have to sit for about an hour to 2 hours, maybe like an hour and a half, something like that. You'll know because it will double in size. That's what we wanted to do. And right now we're not trying to develop the gluten. We're just wanting to mix it together, get the sourdough mixed in with it really well. And at this point, the sourdough is incorporated. You can't tell where the sourdough begins and the other dough ends. Perfect. Okay. So, as you can see, it's like, it's a wet dough. It's not really holding together good. It's just a wet dough. That's what we want. If you're a baker and you don't like how I bake, don't watch me. I'm a working mama. Working as in working in the household. Taking care of my daughter, taking care of my husband, taking care of my mother-in-law. I don't have time for all of your practices. So, sorry, this is how it works for me. And I'm not sorry. This is what works for me in my busy life. So, if you have time to waste all day in waiting for dough to rise and then going back and stretching it and folding it and stretching it and folding it 3 or 4 times during the day, I don't have time for that. There are many ways of making artisan bread. There's not just one. Okay, so now I'm going to take this and I'm going to stick it in a warm spot. That needs to be washed. I'm going to cover it and I'm going to put it in front of my dehydrator because it's blowing out warm air and it's going to be a warm spot and it's going to give it time to rise. That's what I'm going to do now. Okay, so for the loaf pan and the bread machine, it's beating it up right now and it's getting ready to start its second rise. So that's going to take a little while and I will catch you after I go edit some videos and yeah, so we've got some stuff to do and we'll catch you later to finish up the strawberry roll-ups and Todd's muffins. So I'm back. For you guys it was only a couple seconds. For me it's been about an hour and a half. And I'm getting ready to make Todd's muffins, which he likes the blueberry muffins. I use the blueberries. Yes, some blueberries for Dad. I use the blueberries from our blueberry bushes that we have around the front in our edible landscaping. So, yeah, they've produced about 4 gallons this year total. About 4 gallons. So he's been eating a lot of blueberry muffins. So yeah, let's get that started. So I'm going to grind, this is 2 cups of wheat berries, and again 2 cups of wheat berries equals about 3 cups of flour. So let's get this ground. Okay, so I've already ground the flour and packed up my mill, and so I've got all my ingredients laid out. It's okay, honey, come on in. Got all my ingredients laid out right here. Hopefully you can see that because I can't even see the screen. So hopefully this time I won't forget anything. So while I was waiting after I finished editing another video and getting it creating, I'm not sure I like Filmora Pro, but I washed the dishes again, and so now we're getting ready to dirty some more. So you put about a teaspoon of salt in here. Once again, we have, if you just watched it, you should know. We have 2 cups of grains, which equals about 3 cups of flour once ground. Put about a teaspoon of salt, because a little salt goes a long way. I'm going to put, oh, I have the Celtic sea salt out. Oops. So only put the pink Himalayan salt in this one. Yeah, it is what it is. So I put about, this is almost empty, the unsulfured molasses. It's almost empty, so it's just like drizzling out. While we wait, this is what it's where the saying comes, as slow as molasses, because molasses is very thick and it runs very slowly. La 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 la. Alright, so we're going to cut it off right there. Cleanliness is next to godliness. So, sweetheart, can you go throw this in the trash, please, for mommy? Alright, next we're going to load in the blueberries. I have about a little over a cup right here. These are beautiful blueberries from our garden. Look at that. Gorgeous. Some are sweet, some are sour. Get what you get. I have recorded down my favorite ones as far as taste, flavor, and sweetness. So I will be getting more of those. I'm going to pour in about 1/8 of a cup of maple syrup. And do not forget your tablespoon of baking powder. This makes anywhere from 16 to 24 muffins, depending on how many blueberries you use. So, let me stick you on the floor so you can see what I'm doing. Pay no attention to how dirty the stovetop is, because I have not cleaned it yet today, and you know what? It's okay, because I'm not eating off the stovetop, are you? So I'm going to add some water and watch. You'll see the baking powder fizz a little bit. That is the leavening action. As we start stirring it in, Todd absolutely loves these. I know the blueberries, once they get wet, they try to clump together because they're frozen. Need some more water. Again, I don't measure. I go by look and feel. You can measure if you want to. And a lot of people actually use baking soda in their muffin recipe. I don't like that. I think it tastes soapy. So, this is our recipe. And you go by look and feel, because some days you may need more water. Some days you may need less, because it really depends on the humidity in the air. So if you just automatically put in the same amount of water every time, then you may end up having some soupy muffins at some point or another. So we're going to try with 16 muffins and see how far we get with that. He likes to take 3 muffins to work with him every day. He works 4 days a week. Praise Yah. He is off for preparation day, so we get to go do our grocery shopping and prepping. We do our grocery shopping on Thursday, so we get to do our prepping for Sabbath on Friday. Oh, that's got a lot of blueberries in it. And that was truly a gift from God. Now this may be like the muffins I made for Kelsey, that I may have to take some out of another one. But usually these are pretty large. Hi, Kirby. Okay, so we did not get quite 16, we got 14. And that's okay, that is plenty. We'll have a couple extra also, so still works out. Put some water in this. Alright, so these 16 will go into the oven for, we use a toaster oven, we do not have microwaves. These will go in for about 25 minutes. Same as the ones I made for Kelsey at 400 degrees. All right, and now we are back with this bad boy. Look at the difference in the way, the texture of the bread. Okay, let me move my compost bucket off of the stove, and my baking powder, and my measuring cup, and my salt. I don't remember if I put salt in that. It's okay. And let's see. I'm going to put a little bit of maple syrup in here for sweetness. Oh, I did not put salt in here. Just a little, because we're going to spread some jam over top of it, so it doesn't need a lot of sweetness in the bread itself. And I'm going to use Celtic sea salt. And I used about a teaspoon and a half. Alright, I'm also going to put a little vanilla. Alright. And we are going to work this into the dough. It smells like alcohol from the vanilla. That vanilla, I don't know, it smells like rum instead of vodka. It smells like rum. Alright, so we need a little bit of flour on here. Swap out my measuring cups. Why is my quarter cup missing? Yes, ma'am. For now, yes, you do. She's asking if she gets her star today for good behavior, and for now she does. That's what she does to earn her bike. And once the behavior gets to where there's less and less, then she'll be able to earn it faster. Okay. And I put a glove on because I don't like getting my hands messy. I don't like getting dough in my fingernails or in my rings, and I don't like taking them off. And also, because I do have the eczema on my hand. So many reasons to wear gloves when you're actually touching the food. I don't know, child. Alright, so what we're doing is we're just kneading the dough. Probably about 5 minutes or so. Trying to get it into, trying to think about what kind of consistency I'm looking for. It's gonna stay sticky. But we want it a little less sticky than that. Well, I hope so. I know. I know that. And Dad knows that. Yeah. Oops. Get that. Okay, it's starting to get stiff, and that's what I want. A little bit stiffer. A little drier. Honey, you're just going to have to wait a hot minute, okay? Alright, that's all I'm going to need right there. For now, I'm going to have to dust the top of it when I go to roll it out. Okay, and this goes in the sink. And about a tablespoon of oil. Literally, you do not need a lot of oil, and I'm just spreading it around in the pan, up along the sides. Careful not to drop it. It doesn't take a lot. And that just keeps it from sticking. Of course, bakeware, glass bakeware. Crap, I should have dusted that. Should have dusted it. Okay, so much for not getting dirty hands. I use the parchment paper only because it makes it easy to roll the dough back up on itself. Here we go. Alright, so, and I'm just dusting it. You make sure you can still see. Okay. Containers of strawberry jam or preserves. And I love this. Strawberry preserves. I love this because it's clean. The ingredients are strawberries, sugar, brown cane sugar concentrated, lemon juice, fruit pectin. That's it. You have things in your refrigerator that accumulate, and how do you use them up so they don't go bad? Drop that in the comments also. All right, there we go. So we're going to take this right here, and we're just going to start rolling it out. Roll this stuff right here. So just take some flour if you get stuck and scooch it underneath there. Like that. Just scooch it up underneath there. Uh-oh. For what? That's not what I said uh-oh for.
Percent candy.
Oh, dang it. But this one might get cut out. There you go. This is a hot mess right here. You're hungry. Yeah, okay. ideally, it is not supposed to run up there. And this right here is where I didn't have enough flour underneath. I'll just show the finished effects. This is aggravating my hair. Can you stop that video? So sometimes things in the kitchen don't quite go as planned. This is supposed to be a roll up, but it did not roll up. So I'm just working with what I've got. Bam, roll up. Honey, you need to wait, please. Mommy's hands are dirty. So all of my stuffing, well, not all of it, but some of my stuffing like oozed out the backside. That was not intended. I know, child. I know. So I'm just gonna do a double roll up. And that's how you roll with the punches in the kitchen. Sometimes what you plan on, I mean, the cinnamon rolls I made last week, I'll insert a picture right here, were absolutely perfect. And as you can see, these are not, but you know what? It is still going to taste amazing. So we're just gonna roll it up, pop it in there. Actually, that one needs to be too. All right, so these we are going to cover up, and we're just going to let them sit there and rise for a little while. Okay. This is not Martha Stewart's kitchen. Sometimes your best laid plans, things you've done in the past and are repeatable, when you go to put them on video, they don't quite go as well as you had hoped. So you just gotta roll with the punches and deal with it and make it work. So this is going to be good regardless. May not be as pretty as the cinnamon rolls. It's still going to be good, and it's still going to feed my family. So it's not a loss. Okay, so I have that covered up. I'm going to let it rise for about 30 minutes, and then I'm going to bake it in a preheated oven to, I don't know why I have the timer going. I'm going to preheat my oven to, if it'll cooperate with me. I'm going to preheat my oven to 450. And so in half an hour that will be warm and ready to go, and I can put those in there, bake them about 25 to 30 minutes, and it'll be good. And I'll show you the final product. So while I was doing this, Zoji Rushi bread machine cut off. So it's done. Let me show you what. I'll get it eventually. Right there, it says complete right here. Sorry, I still have flour on my hands. Okay, do you see right here? That is the honey that got crusted. Usually putting it in with the water, it doesn't happen like that, but it is what it is. Be careful with this. It is hot when it first comes out, for real. And now I'm going to have a mess to clean up. Ouch. Stump that out. It's still pretty warm. And being careful not to knock it off on the floor. This stuff will peel right off. It is actually pretty good. So, there's a loaf of bread. That doesn't always happen. It's just with certain flours. And like I said, I was trying a different flour with this time. the soft. It's also lower, and it didn't quite rise evenly, as you can see. So I don't know. So far, nothing else has compared to the hard red wheat berries. Now I need to get a towel to cover that up with because Kirby, my beautiful cat, he's a wild one and he loves my bread. And he doesn't care what it looks like or anything like that. This will also slow. See, there he is right there at my feet. This will also slow the baking rate the cooling rate for it. So it won't cool down as fast. And I'm going to turn this air conditioner off because most of my baking is done already. Mama's tired. Okay, for the Zojirushi bread machine, you just hit cancel or wait for it to clear out. So now I got to clean all this mess up. But here are Todd's blueberry muffins. Aren't those beautiful? And I'll need to find a place on the table to set those so they cool with a towel so Kirby can't get to it. Hopefully, he has removed a towel and stolen bread before. No lie. So yeah, that will conclude my baking day for today. I will insert a picture of the strawberry roll-ups right here. So here's the video of the muffins after they came out, and I poured some vanilla, what's it called? Vanilla glaze over top of it. So okay, so even though they didn't quite work so well in the pan, they still turned out beautifully, and they are still going to feed my family dinner. This is dinner tonight, okay? So and Todd's going to take a couple to work this week because he's short a few muffins. So yeah, so even if it doesn't work quite right, most things in the kitchen are still salvageable as long as you don't put too much salt or too much sugar in it. But aren't those beautiful? I mean, look at that goodness. They're still very hot. They're not in rolls like the cinnamon rolls, but they're still good. That's right. How they turned out. And that'll do it. Thanks for being in my kitchen with me today while I cook my bread for my family. Yahuah bless you and keep you and give you shalom. Until next time. Yah bless.